Welcome to episode 5 with Roaring with Ryan here at TMSA Triangle High School in our new recording location, as I may add. Receptionist Heather Stewart is my guest today here on Roaring with Ryan. Heather, how's it going?
Very good. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. Let's honest there here. For those who may not know you, I can't imagine there are people who don't, but if there are any out there here who don't know you and kind of what your job title is and what you don't do around here, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So on my business card, it says receptionist. When we have guests who Mr. Alden, our principal, is introducing me to, when he goes around the room and introduces AP of this, AP of that, he gets to me and goes, and Miss Heather, she's everything. So technically, it says on my email, receptionist, middle school cross-country coach, activity coordinator, and student athletic council advisor. But really, it's just whatever the school or the students or the admin need from me. I'm here for everybody.
Yeah. Since this is an athletics podcast, let's go into the athletics part of your job and tell people what you do.
So I would say that athletics never really became an official part of my job until last year. But so prior to that point, I was really just a self-described TMSA Superfan. I love the kids. I love athletics. And last year, when one of our coaches left, I was asked to help with coaching women's tennis. This year in the summer, I said, the only thing I'd be able to coach if you guys need something is middle school cross country because my daughter's on it, so because I can't split myself in two. And then this year, we didn't have a student athletic council advisor, and I love that group of students, and I love helping them, and I'm here for a lot of the events anyway. So that's when it became more official in that regard. And then there's Coach Weil, our athletic director, who threatens to put a desk for me in his office and calls me his unofficial assistant athletic director. But titles don't really matter to me because it's really, for me, it's just 100% about the kids. I just love watching them and supporting them. And I've learned what a difference it makes to them to have staff come and watch them and support them and get excited about their games and stuff.
We'll go into more specific sports here in a little bit, but as TMSA is a newer school, this school was just built last year. Talk to me about kind of seeing a lot of these sports from the infancy, if you will, the ground up, the development stage, and just what it means. I mean, we had football here, an earlier episode. The game I brought up, I believe, was Felton Grove when they scored their first 2 touchdowns. Something like that as an example of where it's like some of those kids are learning to play their sports, and it's like you see the hard work that's put in, and then the result of that hard work, and it's like in football's terms, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, when we started football last year, I was so excited and so, nervous for them because most of them, when I talked to them, were really excited about the program, but had never played football before at all. So watching that development, and I was their super fan last year. This year, they actually gave me my own jersey, number 99.
Yeah. We've seen that around.
And even just the development from last year to this year, the way that they've had to start from the ground up. If you have never played football, you don't know how to run a play. You don't know what the positions are. You don't know any of those things. And then the heartbreaking part for me, as also because I kind of feel like everybody's like unofficial mom too, was they'd also never been tackled before. And watching them go from tackling each other at practice to that first game where they really got tackled for real has been I'm so proud of them, and I tell them all the time, there's not a lot of sports where you have to go into it knowing that the person across from you, their sole job is to knock you down so you don't get up. And to have the kind of courage and fortitude to put yourself out there like that every game is impressive. And I'm not discounting how hard everybody works in all the sports, but as a young program, it's that. I can give you another example. Last weekend, our very first wrestling team went to their first invitational, and one of our students got a gold medal. We had actually 2 bronze medals and 1 gold medal. The person who got the gold medal had never wrestled before either, but is just an athlete. And when I spoke to Coach Awesome about it afterwards, he said, he still needs to learn the skills but he's a good athlete. So again, this is just another example of how they're starting from the ground up with a lot of these programs. Our swimming team this year, which I know years past they had a swimming team, but we haven't for a while. We have a couple of students who have done some club swim, so they have some experience, and they're going to come into this knowing how a meet runs and things like that. But even not even knowing how a swim meet runs, where you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to line up, the amount of time the kids and the coaches put into this is really impressive and exciting to watch. I get excited for every new sport we're going to offer, including one that's starting in the spring if I get to put a plug in for that one.
Are you allowed to reveal what it is?
I think I am. Oh, I am. I'm getting a nod from over there. We're going to have TMSA's first women's flag football team, which is a sport I'm extremely passionate about.
That would be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun. For those who may not know your athletic background, what'd you play?
So that's hilarious. I didn't. So I grew up as a dancer, honestly, and even in high school, I spent so much time at the dance studio that my mom arranged for me to take the school bus that went to the dance studio instead of the school bus that went to my house. But I grew up in a house that loved sports. Both my siblings played sports. My dad was an athlete. My mom was an athlete. She was a cheerleader, which is an extreme athlete sport. So I never really did, but I've just always been a fan. I'm from the Chicago area, so I'm a huge Cubs fan, a huge Bears fan. I got introduced to soccer a little bit late in life, so I'm learning more about soccer. And my kids do a lot of different sports too. So it's really just, I've always been a fan, so it kind of fits in easily. And then when I was asked to coach, I started realizing that, a lot of the things in my life experiences with career and things like that really did lend itself to coaching because I always used to, in my old career, develop employees, do leadership training. I'm a certified life coach. And so being able to work with them in that environment, I already knew enough about the sport from being such a fan of it. And then that coaching part came very easily to me. I had to learn a few other things along the way. But that's also why I love all the sports, because I just kind of always have.
Well, I'm gonna make you pick one. Do you have a sport, whether it's here at TMSA, whether it's your kids playing that sport? Do you have? We'll call it your top two sports to watch or play.
So, I play in terms of just playing around with the kids and
Sure,
playing at
sure,
practice.
sure.
I would say, in terms of TMSA sports, I'm a coach and I am an employee, and I love all the kids here. So.
Sure.
It'd be like picking between one of my own two children.
Yeah.
However, I'll talk about how about this fall so far. I obviously very much enjoy and like to support our football team because it's very new and it's a very challenging sport. I also really love, and even outside of TMSA, women's basketball. I coached tennis last year, and I also enjoy watching tennis at home. Oh, I just did 3, didn't I? And that even counts for TMSA because last year I was their coach, and this year I was just their fan. But also, baseball is complicated. I don't really watch baseball. I grew up listening to it on the radio with my dad and my grandpa.
Absolutely.
So my favorite thing about baseball is I can listen to it no matter what else I'm doing. So I generally listen to baseball. So that's 4, but it doesn't technically count as one I watch.
That's okay. Yeah. Those are all good sports to watch, I will say. And then you've got ones that people, like you mentioned, swimming, wrestling, cross country. Some people call it the Olympic sports in the college athletic world. But getting back to more of the what you do specifically at TMSA and the athletics, let's get to know you a little bit more. What's something that people may not know about you? A hobby, something that you do outside of TMSA?
My hobby, it's funny, somebody else asked me this recently. My hobby is really my kids. I would say the number one thing people don't know about me when they meet me and they see me in this environment, because I'm pretty comfortable here, you see me here, like it feels like my home, is that really from 1991 until 2019, I worked in the veterinary business. So the only exposure to school I had was when I went myself and then when my kids started school. So I always tell everybody, it's kind of a joke, but this was supposed to be my retirement job. So I would say that's probably the thing that surprises people the most. And then once they start talking to me and I'll say things like off the cuff, like, oh, well, my employee's this or that. And they're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Well, let's continue to get to know you a little bit more, a little deeper here. What is something that people here at TMSA, you do a lot of stuff, like you mentioned, athletics, receptionist. What is something that you do at TMSA, kind of that you can give us a little bit behind the scenes look at what people may not know about that kind of goes on? That's pretty important here in the life of TMSA.
I would say the biggest thing people are surprised to find out is that, so I've been, part of the admin team. So I'm in all the admin team meetings and I'm involved in a lot of, the logistics of helping with some of the things that decisions are made about. I'm also on the communications team, which means that we work on doing all the, the social media, the Parent Square posts, the internal things like that, a lot of marketing. I also do sometimes help represent the school at other things. For example, we had an event here with the Apex Chamber of Commerce. So Mr. Alden and I were here sort of representing the school. But the part that I think a lot happens behind the scenes that people don't realize is the communications part. So I always did a lot of Parent Square posts and Facebook posts. And this year, my WIG, as you know, we're a Leader in Me school.
Right.
My wildly important goal for this year was to start our own TMSA high school Instagram account and grow the followers to 500 by the end of the year. So on August 20th, I believe, my first Instagram post was, and now I'm up to 280 followers as of this morning. So that's been a lot of work that people don't see. And so a lot of like marketing, I think, is another big thing that people don't realize I do a lot of.
Well, that's part of the reason this podcast got started, if I'm being honest. I mean, having the marketability, the athletics, it's one thing to have some social media posts or just kind of word of mouth spread, but having a podcast to talk about athletics and the things that go on here, podcasts are kind of the 2025, 2024, and it's been around for a while. It's just been more mainstream over the last few years. So it was important to have something like this started out for parents, kids, future TMSA students, and just the community to kind of listen to and get an idea of what kind of goes on here.
Well, and if you asked anyone on the admin team, they've heard me say this a million times. One of my not public goals, but one of my internal goals that I will talk to people about is that I like to think that I can help the parents who don't realize, some people think it's just about scores, test scores, STEM classes, things like that. And I always say, I want people to get to know who we are so they don't see us as just those things on the outside, And so that's also part of my thing. And that's why I love so much being part of the community. When I go to football games and go to basketball games, I was at the basketball game for homecoming, and it was so fun. I sat at the score table for a while, which they kick me out sometimes because you're not supposed to cheer from the score table.
You got to be very neutral over there. It's a very serious business over there.
I know. So then I leave, and then I check on the concessions because that student athletic council is managing that. But then I go into the stands, and I sit with all these different groups of parents and groups of students, and that's part of my favorite thing because then they see you as more than just the person who answers the phone or like our IT person. I want them to see them as, more than just the person you go to when you have a problem or things like that. So,
yeah. Well, I'm going to ask this question because you brought it up. Talk about what, as we wrap up here, because Heather Stewart been my guest here on Rolling with Ryan, episode 5. Real quick, as we wrap up, talk about the athletics portion versus things like the test scores, the academics, because like you said, there's a perception out there that I think people need to understand that TMSA is not just the STEAM school. There's some athletics here on the side with some arts and other things mixed in. So talk about that very briefly, and we'll close.
Yeah, athletics is such a huge number one. It's great for students to learn discipline, how to schedule their time, athleticism, things like that. It is part of the whole child experience, and that is what we're working on. That's one of our goals as a school, is to always have a whole child focus. So everything's important, the arts, the athletics. But what I see from the athletics is you put a student on a team and they have this new community. They want to do well for that community, that is their team and their coach. So then their grades get better, their attitude gets better. Their whole face lights up when you talk to them about that. No offense, their face doesn't really light up when I talk to them about AB calculus. But when I talk to them the day after a game and I go, oh my goodness, I could not believe when you flew over that guy and knocked the ball right out of his hands, their whole face lights up. So it is so important. And it's so important to support our athletics. One of the things that is really important to me is to get the message out to parents that the kids want to see you at their games. It doesn't matter if your kid is on the team or if it's your student, if your child's friend is on the team. We need to pack these stands. We need to show our support, because when they look in the crowd and they see those people, it is so impactful to them. And I think the more that we can get parents to come to the games and see what's happening there and see what a difference it makes in their relationship with their child or the staff's relationship with that child, then they'll start to see us as more than just, test scores and things like that, and see how much it benefits them to be a part of it and for them to see our support in it.
Where can people find you if they want to come chat with you or send you, obviously your email and contact information is on the website, but where can they find you?
They can call, and sometimes I'm there. They can always email me, but also you can kind of see me wherever you are. You come to school. I mean, it's a joke, but I get like over 12,000 steps a day, so I don't really sit in one place. But I do try to be at basketball games, football games, things like that. I'm always out. When we have events like open houses and things like that, I'm usually here. I'm pretty visible. And when they call and I tell them, oh, have your student just give it to Miss Heather, they know who I am. It's kind of a joke, but if you can't figure out who I am, ask your kid. They probably know.
All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much for coming on Roaring with Ryan. This has been fun.
Super fun. Thank you.
And as we wrap up, special thanks to our sponsors here of Roaring with Ryan, JT Auto Group, Cats Cleaning Service. We'll be back next week for another episode. And as we say goodbye, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate. Have a happy fall break. And we will see you after the break for another episode here on Roaring with Ryan.